To the light, yes. So I'm Steve Ondrick. I directed this film. This film is called Who is Vermin Supreme? An Outsider Odyssey. That's what like half of this and so yeah, this film was started in May of 2012 when I met Vermin Supreme at the NATO Summit protests. And I assume you guys are somewhat familiar with Vermin.
A little bit.
If anybody's hiding in here who isn't, he's a, I don't know, it's hard to define him. He is a performance artist, he's a comedian, he's a presidential candidate, he's an activist, he's an anarchist, he's a lot of things. Oh yeah, I was told in the back that maybe some people snuck into this screening. They have requested that if you secretly snuck into the screening to please either check in if you paid on PayPal or pay for your ticket. But that's just what I heard. But anyway, this movie, it's pretty good, I think. I've been working on it for a long time, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I don't know, I'm better at question and answer sessions than introductions. So, but I guess, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Vermin, who is in the back there. This is Vermin Supreme. He's going to say a few words, and then we'll get going.
Hello, my name is Vermin Supreme. I am from the internet.
Al Gore invent you?
It did. I'd like to thank you all very much for coming. It's so wonderful to see so many faces and so many people who have been instrumental in my 20 years of campaigning. This film is, in a way, a culmination because, you know, when somebody wants to make a biopic, it's usually not more than one, really. I mean, it's like, hey, can we make a documentary about you? This is it. This is the documentary. And it came into being, like Steve said, it was a result of the NATO protests, the anti-NATO protests in Chicago, 2012 in April or May, I think it was. And they were it was a very intense time, very intense. I think you'll see some of it in the movie. And it was what was notable for me was it was the first national demonstration, political protest that I had taken part in since I became famous on the internet. Y'all know I got a little famous on the internet, yes?
Yeah.
How many friends?
Too many names to count.
Lots. But you know, the weird things that came together in 2012 were just a confluence of events and evolutions of various things that made me become like really famous on the internet. I became a meme. All these things came together because I was on the ballot in New Hampshire, and so that entitled me to take part in the lesser-known candidates debate. And so I was on this debate, and it was televised by C-SPAN, and so I was actually eligible to do it in 2008. Actually, in 2008 we were on our way to that very same debate, but there was a blizzard. The CIA weather machines prevented us from attending. But it worked out very well, because when I was on my way there in 2008, I really didn't have a plan of attack. I didn't really have a plan of action. I was just going to go up and wing it, which I think could have worked, but it's great that it didn't, because the intervening 4 years, it gave me an opportunity to really study my material, to get tight with my material. It gave me an opportunity to get more gray in the beard. It gave me an opportunity to let the beard grow out, because in 2008 it was still short, because I was still in the tail end of making the Vote Jesus movie when I was a little more cleaned up. So it gave these 4 years to get all bushy and wild. And then also in that meantime, the Wizard became a real meme through Harry Potter and all those movies. And so there was this real resonance with that. In 2008, obviously I got trounced by Obama. And he was still fresh, right? He was still fresh, so people, I think they would have been less receptive to the message. So the 4 years that intervened gave people to get more disillusioned with the government, with the president, like they do every time, So I mean, so there was that came together. There was Randall Terry, the famous anti-abortionist. Operation Rescue dude who ran for president as a Democrat that year for some reason. He did it to embarrass Obama, and so I had that in my favor. And so when we were up there on the stage, he was right next to me alphabetically, which was just another great thing that was a coincidence. The evolution of the digital media happened in that 4 years. The migration of all the traditional media sources into the internet was happened in that time. So when I did this thing, when I was went up on stage and started railing about gingivitis and dental hygiene, America was ready for it. America was ready at it. Because, you know, I've been running for over 20 years. I mean, on essentially the same platforms. Am I right, people? Yeah, okay. But, you know, America was not ready for such visionary thinking. And in 2012, that all changed, and things went pretty crazy on the internet. And so I was in Chicago, and like I say, it was the first major protest, because I've been going to major protests for 20, 30 years. And I've been doing the same thing, sort of trying to chill things out and communicate with the people and communicate with the cops. And it was very interesting, because when I had this boot on, everybody knew who I was. The protesters, every last one of them, the civilians, the public, and the police. The police all knew me. And you could see me go viral down the line of police as they shared the video. It's like, oh, that guy. And it gave me a lot of leeway. And I think it helped make me more effective. But I think maybe I'm going a little too far for an intro, and I'm slipping into Q&A territory. So let's just go on with the film, because I think you'll like the film, and that's why you're here. And we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. Bringing or evolution or learning. You know, I don't know how much you know about the Rainbow Gathering. You saw a little bit about those. But by going to these events, these Rainbow Gatherings in particular, I was able to develop my entire ability to deal with authority and society and just sort of public situations with a lot of humor. And they were, you know, I was able to push the envelope essentially there. And so I thought it was worthy of note that he come and meet some people who knew me from there through the years and would have stories. And one of my ulterior motives, I will tell you, is because I didn't want to have to wait until my wake to hear stories that my friends tell about me. And so I said, yeah, I'm going to bring you to a lot of my friends that I know have a lot of good stories about me, and I'm going to have you get that on film. And so I did that. There's so many hours, and so much of it didn't make it, but what you saw did make it. And it was, you know, it's an editor. That's what, you know, an editor, it's like a sculptor. You take, I mean, how many hours? 90 hours?
It was about 100 hours of footage.
100 hours of footage of him. And you know, once we agreed to do it, yeah, he showed up at the Rainbow Gathering, and he did that segment, and then from there, and then I said, okay, fine, I will send you boxes of VHS tapes. That, you know, for me, I couldn't even play them anymore, but I knew it was raw footage. It was unavailable. I brought him to meet my mother. I brought him to Gloucester. I brought him to Baltimore. I brought him to places in my life that I thought was, you know, it was part of.
Primarily, you know, I had seen Vermin in the Lesser Known Candidates debate, and I thought it was funny. But then when I saw him on the scene at the NATO Summit protests, surrounded by all that chaos, bringing comedy out of these really intense moments, I was pretty impressed by that. So I floated the idea to him, and a couple weeks later he called me. He was excited about it. Launched a Kickstarter, and eventually we ended up with this. You just saw.
Amazing footage. Quick question. So I've been following Vermin for many years, like many people in this room, and read lots and lots of articles. And one of the things that really struck me about this film was you showed high school pictures, high school yearbook photos and things. Was there any reluctance on Vermin's part to share these details? Because I know that he's been very reluctant in the past.
You know, that's a good question. It seemed like near the beginning, maybe Vermin was a little bit reluctant to share these things with me, but eventually over time we sort of built trust, and he sent me some of the documents, and I mean, you might have noticed there's like one newspaper clipping in there where there are some words that are like redacted, like it's a CIA document. That is because Vermin Supreme used to have a different name, which I was not allowed to include in this film. So I agreed, you know, for the sake of maintaining trust, not to include that name.
That was the only time you were censored?
Pretty much, yeah. That was I guess, really the only area in which Vermin requested I sort of withhold information on the film.
End up on PBS someday.
That's a good question. That would be nice. Does anybody in the audience work for PBS by chance? Anybody? I would certainly not be opposed to it ending up on PBS. You know, this is the first feature-length film that I've done, so I'm pretty new to the whole distribution question. I mean, it's a pretty big, I mean, I've done a lot of short film work, but it's a pretty big undertaking in the first place to try to actually edit something at this scale. I mean, it becomes a whole different ballgame. You have to sort of like really get a feel for how people interact with these things over, you know, an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes or whatever. I mean, at one point in time, I had I think it was a 3.5 hour cut of this thing, and it just became clear that it would be impossible to do it that way. But yeah, so far as wider distribution is concerned, at this point, you know, we're not yet sure. It would be great to get it on Netflix or PBS or anything like that. If anybody in the audience happens to have any leads on that one, feel free to approach me afterwards.
We have content.
Okay. We'll talk, Jane. Anybody else? And putting into it, in terms of actual hours that I spent on it, I really have no idea. I mean, thousands and thousands of hours. I don't know. I have no way of calculating that, but a lot of time, and a lot of other people did too. I mean, a lot of people helped that. I mean, even most recently, one thing that was improved about this cut was some of the audio on the interview with Mary Ann, Vermin's mother. Jeff Wallach over here was nice enough to help me out with improving some of that audio. So a lot of people put a lot of work into it. But I think there was another question back there. The timing wasn't right. But.
Had you ever been to demonstrations like that before?
You know, I don't think I really had been to a demonstration of that scale. I mean, I guess, you know, I've been involved in the Occupy movement out in Minneapolis, so I've been to, you know, a lot of marches, and I had seen these things and how they often go down. I think actually one of the first demonstrations I was at was in 2008 at the Republican National Convention in St. Paul, and that one was fairly intense. The police got pretty out of hand. I almost got tear gassed, but I sort of got out just in time. I think I was actually with a group of people, and there was a line of riot police moving in like as if to close us off, and I saw their like tear gas canister things, and one of the guys pointed at me and he was like, "Go that way," and I said, "No, I'm not going that way. I'm a different way." So, somebody back there?
Are you an anarchist, and if so, why?
That is, you know, that's a good question. I don't know. Like, I guess the more that I look into alternative politics, the less I know exactly what to call myself. I mean, I guess I do sort of agree with the idea that it's a good idea that people should more or less be able to govern themselves, almost as if, you know, anarchism might just be democracy pushed even further. That said, I don't know. I guess from my point of view, there probably has to be a government of some kind. Like somebody's got to be regulating, you know, other entities, because a corporation can get out of control and can be, you know, a bureaucracy or you know, some kind of structural power that can control people just as much as a government can. So
the follow-up to that then is, did you actually vote for Vermin?
You know, I was planning on voting for Vermin in 2012. But actually in 2012 I didn't vote because I tried to get an absentee voting thing together because I was out in this part of the country and I actually grew up in Minneapolis, but it didn't happen in time. But I think I may have voted for Vermin in some kind of local office in 2013 in the Minneapolis area. I forget which one. Some kind of commissioner or something. Anybody else? Somebody running?
Do you have any plans to cover Vermin's 2016 campaign and the Hampshire primary?
I don't have any official plans to do that, but I'm not totally closed off to the idea. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe. Maybe there's a sequel. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Did Rob ever get a date with the police officer?
He didn't, though. Like, I'm kind of convinced that maybe he could have. I don't know. He always jokes about how he just wouldn't get along like with her friends. You know, he'd have to go to picnics and it'd be awkward. But actually, I mean, that clip is up on YouTube and it's becoming incredibly popular. It has like 650,000 hits or something like that. So it took a long time. It was ignored for a long time, but for some reason, people on YouTube love it now. Anybody else? Right here?
I can't imagine that Vermin has evaded arrest. He wasn't arrested in this year, but has he been arrested? Has he been many times?
Vermin, do you want to field that one? So far as I know, Vermin has been arrested, but not for a while.
Sure.
You want to use the mic, or?
Sure. I think there's another mic.
The mic?
Or was it the one? Or the two?
Yeah, there was a second one somewhere.
Did anybody see the other mic?
Anybody have the other microphone? You can just borrow this one for now.
Okay. Sure. Have I ever been arrested, in what format? For where I have placed myself, where I have found myself in that gray area between protesters and police, which is where I often find myself. I have been arrested amazingly few times in the various situations that have been on the verge of situations and violence. Just my timing, my paying attention to situational awareness to the surroundings have helped me. In Pittsburgh at the G8, it was the first time that I busted out the chicken dance. Little toy that I have that plays the chicken dance, and I amplified it 10 watts, full power during the riot control, riot police maneuvers as they're going down the street, banging their shields. Move, move, do, 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 do. And it was almost in time with the chicken dance, so I was playing the chicken dance, and while these riot police are coming in, making their maneuvers, corralling the protesters and making mass arrests, the chicken dance at full blast was the psyops that I was operating at that point. And it was this sort of situation where I was playing this thing, and it was changing the dynamic in a totally effective fashion, and it carried over. I mean, it made the fear go away, the fear that normally that you would experience when these riot police are coming at you with the clubs banging and yelling at you to move. And they were having to do it while they were hearing the chicken dance full blast. And it carried over into the transport vehicles. The people who were being mass arrested were singing the chicken dance over and over. And they would stomp their feet, and it carried over to the jails and a little bit to the courts. And so it became this unifying thing. It was, once again, simple, elegant, effective. That's always been my mantra. Simple, elegant, wear a boot on your head. Simple, elegant, effective. Talk about toothbrushing. Simple, elegant, effective. Free ponies. Simple, elegant, effective. And using humor to totally transform really tense situations. And so it's been this blessing that somehow I've been gifted with that allows me to interact in this mass environment, and having done it for so long. I mean, I'll tell you, for many years, it was very tense. I mean, when I was doing that in Pittsburgh, for example, but I knew they were closing off this park. It became very clear that they were surrounding this park, and I stayed to the last possible minute to answer your question, and I made for the exit, and I was like the last person to leave that park, and the cop on the way out is like, "What do you have in that bag?" And I'm like, "My microphone, bye!" The few times that I have been arrested, that were of note, or okay, in Los Angeles, in the DNC in 2000 at the Staples Center, and there was this particular situation where there was like the Frontline Action was this fence, the convention center. There is a fence that they had built, 12-foot fence, cyclone fence on top of New Jersey barriers, and this was the zone, the fence that prevented the concert on the other side. That was the Rage Against the Machine concert in the year 2000 in LA, DNC, and it became this thing, but it was like, oh, the Rage Against the Machine riot at the DNC in 2000, and really it was a totally different band playing at that time. But part of the things that led up to that were this fence, and this fence once again became this sort of attractive nuisance, if you will. And if you know the whole idea of attractive nuisance, it's a nuisance that becomes attractive to people. If you have a ladder on your lawn, or like a trampoline or something, and civilians are attracted to it, it becomes an attractive nuisance. And essentially, that's what these riot cops become. And that's what this fence became. And so these protesters, the anarchists, and the people with something to say, they made this fence a thing. Throw things over the fence, climb up on the fence, hold your signs against the fence. And so this one day, somebody was climbing the fence, and they stepped up and they pepper sprayed this person. They just hosed him down with pepper spray. And needless to say, it caused people to get agitated. Now, in the meantime, we were attempting negotiations. My friend Jim Squatter was like, and in that particular instance, there was a lot of federal justice mediators in there because of the Ramparts incidents in LA. So the feds sent these sort of intermediaries, and so the organizers of this concert and the people who had the stage made this observation that the police were at a certain length where they could be hit with debris. And so what the organizer of the event asked, quite sensibly in my opinion, was to ask the police to back off, 30, 40 feet, so they're out of range of people throwing stuff. Because people were very agitated at this point. They were like breaking up concrete and things along this nature. And I was sort of given a play-by-play of what was happening, a real-time enactment of what was occurring, so that the people in the crowd knew what was going on, and the police knew what was going on, and I tried to deconstruct it to let them know that we were all part of this dance, and it was sort of like, it was playbook essentially, because this was going to happen, and that was going to happen, and this was going to happen, and that was going to happen. And so instead of backing the police off, they were left as a passive provocation, a point that I made to the police. You are being used as a passive provocation by your commanding officers and the chain of command like that. And of course you make it clear to the crowd that you're talking to the police, and well, yes, you can expect the police to react with this, that, and the other thing. Just so everybody knows, and everybody knows on the same page, because a lot of people come to these protests, and they don't know the simplest things of being in a protest. They don't know the simplest things of, how to protect themselves against, riot agents and chemicals and things of this nature. And so that's part of what I do. One of the simplest things I do, it's like, please remove your contact lenses, because, tear gas will mess that stuff up, and things of this nature. Do not panic. Do not run. Walk, And, I don't understand why there's not more parade marshals or protest marshals or public safety people who can do this that part of it, very simple. Bringing the humor into it, dancing with the police, reading through, another thing that I like to do and have done in the past, reading to them from riot control manuals from various, agencies, FBI and riot control this and that, and the Navy, and there were a lot of ex-military, and I really tried to make this connection with them. And so, yeah, so I got arrested the following day, and something that I learned that day in LA was that if you want to get arrested, if I want to get myself shut down, all I have to do is start criticizing the commanding officer in front of the frontline cops. And that's what got it, I started talking about the First Amendment, I start singing Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, I segue into these are the people in our neighborhood from Sesame Street, and then I started pointing out to the people getting arrested that there were lawyers standing by, and don't talk to anybody without your lawyers, and we have lawyers right here. And that seemed to be all cool, but as soon as I started talking one-on-one to this crowd of cops, telling them that their commanding officers were putting them in a dangerous situation last night, giving them a play-by-play of what happened and what went down and why it was dangerous to all involved and had nothing in order to do with public order or public safety at all. And I think that resonates. Good cops are bad cops and bad cops are good cops, but they're all, they can hear, and you start to, and that was it. I started talking about the CO, and they sent out, the CO steps up and stop, and I stopped. And they arrested me half a block away, confiscated my megaphone, essentially, preventing me from having a voice, which was very annoying for that day. A friend of mine bought me a new one. I was happy. It was good. I borrowed one that day from somebody and started to because it got very tense there, and a lot of police were there, and the delegates were having to go by, and I borrowed somebody's, hey, can I borrow your megaphone? And I started doing this little pattern. It's like, do you feel safe? Are you feeling safe? Do you feel safe? To the delegates as they walk by all these cops. They were, and so I got arrested for that, but I got to sue them. And even though, and once again, it's this, I like to think, when I'm dealing with the police, I like to think that, it's a professional relationship. I like to pretend, when I'm up in front of these riot cops, that the U.S. Constitution is this imaginary piece of paper and words that protects me from them. And, this idea that they will not attack me, or they won't attack the crowd until they're ordered to do so, although sometimes that breaks down. I'm generally secure in the knowledge that they won't attack unless they're ordered to do so, and it becomes a little obvious when that stuff goes down. There's other times when Becky has saved me. I'll tell you a quick little one about that. This was in New York City in '08 at the convention there, and we were on our way to another demonstration, and it's like we were waiting for our friends, and we were, there was this crosswalk, and all of a sudden we see that there's this big parade coming down the street, this big parade of thousands of people, protesters and stuff, heading towards Madison Square Garden, and we were about, we were a few blocks away. And okay, we're waiting, and okay, there's cops lining both sides of the street, and yada yada. And I say, oh, okay, got a few minutes. And at the time it was very hot. I think I was wearing maybe a pair of shorts and a fake ass and a clown nose, the black rode a clown nose. And I just lie down on the street in this crosswalk and made this announcement, something to the effect of, I am sick of these protesters coming to our town, and I'm not going to let them come by. And the next thing that I knew, I was completely surrounded by the media. I was surrounded by over 100 people with cameras and notepads and videos and all this. And it was pretty amazing. Because I looked around and it's like, all of a sudden there's like people all around me, dense back, they were 5 deep, but fully around me. And oh my goodness, during this time, the parade is getting closer and closer. And the parade is like up on us, okay? The parade is like half a block away and it's loud and it's like, oh my goodness. So I stand up and I start making this announcement. Oh my goodness, oh my God, help me, somebody help me, somebody help me. I'm surrounded by the media and they won't let me go. They won't let me go. And it was true. I couldn't have gotten out of there if I wanted to. I was surrounded tight by the media. And all of a sudden, I look up and there comes a flying wedge of police. Classic flying wedge maneuver. Cutting like a knife through this media to get me. So all of a sudden okay, oh, thank goodness the police, they're going to rescue me. And they came in and they scooped me up and they marched me through the media behind behind the barricade. And this guy, this uniform, this white shirt, starts yelling at me, like blowing a freaking gasket, just yelling at me. And I'm like, yes, sir, and nodding my head and probably saying, not a problem, not a problem. And all of a sudden the parade comes by at that moment, and he's just like, are you with them? Or are you with it? And he's like, yeah, I'm with them. And he opened up the barricade and shoved me through it into the parade.
Oh, wow.
And they arrest me. I find out later that Becky, of course, she sees me lie down on the street. She sees her ruckus. But she has situational awareness. She's looking around and she saw the white shirt calling his guys, and she knew what was down. She knew I was going to be arrested. And she went out and she says to the guy, oh, no, he's a clown. He's a clown. He's got the nose. Don't arrest him. He doesn't want to get arrested. It's not a protest. Let him go.
Oh, I love you, Becky.
And that's why they let me go. Thank you, Becky. I love you. Any other questions?
Two-part question.
Yes.
Part one is, what was your impetus originally for the first time you ran for office? And secondarily, if you have any new writing coming up, can you indulge anything about your new writing?
Oh, well, thank you very much for asking that question here. Rod Weber, Ed Vine. Thank you. My first political action, well, you saw it in the movie pretty much. I was elected mayor for a day. Gloucester High School, Massachusetts, class of '79. So that was sort of my first political thing. I got to spend a day with the mayor, Leo Alper. Anybody remember Leo Alper?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
What was
yeah.
the impetus, though? What made you do it?
Well, that just sort of happened. Well, actually, because I got this cat named Louis D. Benedictus elected president of Gloucester High School. Terrible mistake on my part, I admit now, but I was young. And I said, "Oh, dude," and he was a total unknown. I said, "I'll be your campaign manager," and just ran this like real crazy campaign and got him elected. But my impetus for myself running Baltimore, Maryland, 1986 or so. I was pretty much had done a lot of things in Baltimore. I'd run that bar. It shook a lot of hands. Met a lot of people, new people, because I was doing the only booking in this, in the underground scene, and had nothing to do really. I'd been evicted. Things were looking grim. There wasn't a real reason for me to be in Baltimore, and I was sort of looking for a new project, something to do. And so it was not political at all. I was at the Two Crazy Greeks on Charles Street, having dollar pitcher beer night, and just said, "Hey, I'll run for mayor of Baltimore. That's something to do." And so I said that, and I started telling to my friends. I was like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm going to run for mayor of Baltimore." And everybody thought that was something. But shortly thereafter, I left. The Great Peace March, the Great Peace March for Nuclear Disarmament, which came from LA to DC in 1986, rolled into Baltimore, Maryland at the exact same time when I was so fried on Baltimore, Maryland, and was leaving Baltimore, Maryland, and just looking for a reason to leave Baltimore, Maryland. It landed into Baltimore, Maryland, and I left. And that's what turned me into an activist. I joined a group called Seeds of Peace, which was a spin-off of that. When it rolled into Baltimore at that time, it was 5,000 people strong. It was, it was a mobile community. I mean, it was like a prototype Occupy Wall Street type of thing, taking over public space in order to make your political point, and I like that very much. And so I jumped on board that. I ran to the Sawyer Memorial Stadium. It was like they had school buses, they had 1,000 people. It was real something. And then I met Becky.
Yay!
Becky! And then all of a sudden a year went by and the election started in Baltimore, and I said, "Oh my goodness, I told people I was running for mayor of Baltimore, Maryland." And for some reason, instead of like saying, "Oh well," I said, "I better get there and run for mayor," because I felt I had committed to running for mayor. Whereas I could have just said, "Oh, I guess I said that, oh well." No, I went there. And me and Happy Matt Walker, we went into a month-long pharmaceutical drug study in Boston, and they experimented drugs on us, and I made some money, and I called up type printing. Did they? I mean, I had to hire somebody to do computer typesetting back in 1987, and I don't even know if they had Kinko's back then, so I had to pay, get a real printer and stuff, and had these trifolds printed up, and me and Jack and Janet, and we just rolled into Baltimore and said I was running for mayor, and that was even before I had a boot. I know. And yes, I am writing a piece of fan fiction. It's true. It's a novella. I encourage you all to check it out on Kindle and Amazon and all that good stuff coming up in 2016, 2015 or so. It's Life in the Time of Ponies. It's a beautiful story about the future long after a Vermin Supreme presidency.
Yeah.
Dental checkpoint, got it all. Yes, please, sir.
You seem to be very good at conflict de-escalation and the use of the bullhorn. Would you ever consider teaching some courses, maybe some other?
Yes, of course, Shill. Yes, of course, Shill. The megaphone de-escalating technique workshop I have given to various activist groups, and I make myself available for that for sure. It's a transferable skill, most definitely. And after party at the dog bar. Hey, could you tell all those people the after party's at the dog bar? Dog bar. Tell those people who just left.
I think they heard you at the dog bar.
Okay, dog bar! We're having a party at the dog bar afterwards, that's what I hear. In case you heard enough of me talking about myself, if you want to go to the dog bar, you should wait for me. Do that. Just saying. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, Gloucester, my hometown. It's a great honor. It's a great honor to be here with so many beautiful people from Gloucester and surrounding communities and far away. It's really good, and I have great faith that together we can turn up the brightness knob of the future tomorrow, today. And together, we can take back America from whoever has it, whenever we take it back from them. Thank you. DJ Shaver in the house. I want a pony. You know your pony that's coming in the mail.